Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an announcement video. I feel compelled to make this video that kind of explains my mindset, my kind of what's happened to me in the past, where I've come, and where I'm going to now. I was at Epic HQ, obviously got a great behind the scenes look into everything, talked to a lot of developers, talked to a lot of people about things, and of course that changes anybody's perspective, appreciation for, understanding of everything that's involved with Paragon, and of course even my own involvement in the community. So I feel like I need to kind of give you guys a brief kind of overview of where am I? What are these past few videos about? ELO, I have one coming out about CC, I have one about the community mindset. What are these? Where are these coming from? What's going on in my head? What has led up to this point? So let's start over a year ago. Let's start a year ago, 8 days ago. A year ago and 8 days was when I was in a motor vehicle accident and I was taken off of work. It was pretty serious. I was in hospital for 4 or 5 days with threatening of spinal cord injuries, spinal cord bleeding, and spinal cord surgery. Luckily, I didn't need that, and I just all I needed was just a brief period of kind of getting over things, and then a lot of physio. But there's a mental component to it as well, and you know what? It has kind of continued to this day, and it's kind of stopped, I would hope, since I've been at Epic HQ, believe it or not. So a little over a year. I was in limbo. My life was in limbo, and everything about me, everything about Joel, that is my first name, was just in limbo. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I was. I didn't know what I was going to be. I didn't know what I wanted to be or what I wanted to do. Literally, that actually kind of just threw everything into limbo. You guys might know that I am a band teacher by trade. 5 years of university and a lot of sweat, went into it, a lot of time, a lot of dedication, a lot of kind of your life investment goes into something like this. And you build a psyche, you build an outlook, you build a mindset that is focused around that. You have a purpose in your life, and you cling on that, you rely on that to give you purpose and fulfillment and satisfaction and enjoyment and everything that this life is about. But that was kind of all thrown out the window. I was at home with my wife and son till May, and then my wife went to work, back to work. So then I was on my parental leave, my 6 months of parental leave with my son, and it was me figuring stuff out. Do I like this stay-at-home thing? Do I really dislike what I have spent 5 years of my life training for, and 3 years of my life working for? Do I dislike it? Is that not a thing? Is that not Joel? And my gut says no. My gut says while I really appreciate it and has really defined a lot of who and what I am, it's just not something I want to do. And saying those words come out of my mouth for, the first few times, guys. You guys are getting a lot of honesty from me right now. It feels right. And that's kind of sad. I not wasted a whole part of my life. But anyways, it's been figuring that out. I believe it or not, I have, if you've seen some of my live streams and some of my videos, I got rage. It's in there, frustrations about everything about me and about my life and about, you know, that there's so much I take for granted, and that's frustrating too. And leading up to going to Epic HQ, you know, it's been lovely that I've had the you know, YouTube to dedicate myself to and find purpose and find, you know, whatever. But it's still just, you know, it's still just I make videos and share my experiences, like whoop-de-doo on some level. But going to Epic HQ has really fulfilled me with purpose. It's like, I know now that if I continue on this path, it will be successful. Hopefully, it will be meaningful. Like, you know, so many people in Epic Games, like the company, like they really, like, lots of them really appreciate what I do, and lots of you, like you guys, obviously, you choose to watch my video, subscribe to me. It's really meaningful, and it fills my life with purpose. And for the first time in a long time, I feel passionate, like truly passionate about something, and dedicated to, and something that I feel like there's substance. It's significant. And because of that, and because of all the insights that, yes, I did glean while at Epic HQ, it really synergizes well with my previous experience, with my previous training as a teacher, and the philosophies you need in order to, you know, just govern the way that you do things. You're starting to see that. You're starting to see that in those videos, and probably you've seen that in my previous videos as well. I finally feel like dedicated, like purposeful, like I belong somewhere doing something. And you're gonna start seeing, hopefully, more positivity, more maybe creativity, hopefully, but more dedication and more optimistic outlook on things. And I know that before I went to Epic HQ, yes, there was a large part of me, you know, complaining about things, about towers and balance and CC meta and blah blah blah. But that was, at the end of the day, it just came down to my own issues, my own, you know, I didn't feel like I belong anywhere, and that I'm just a useless sack of meat walking around every day, taking care of my son, and, you know, and for some reason I couldn't find enjoyment in that. Like, are you serious? And I was just, the game, I was like, you know, I needed somewhere to place the blame. I was like, what is this? And I was just frustrated with myself, and I was like, Sylphin, why can't you just understand this? Well, if you can't, then it's the game's problem. And it was just like, you know, everything that I know about learning and about having a good experience and creating a good experience for yourself just kind of went out the window. And, you know, I let myself have a bad experience, or have bad experiences with the game, with anything else, and just have not a constructive and positive outlook on things. And you know, now I guess I can go into, you know, what the future is going to look like, and kind of explain my last few videos and some concerns, I guess, that I've already seen, you know, comments of you know, oh, Epic's got to me, he's on the payroll, and stuff like that. And yeah, I do realize that, you know, sending somebody or bringing somebody to you know, to your headquarters, and, you know, it obviously kind of seems like that, and it's fair. But no, I have no obligation to Epic Games. You know, it's out of their own charity. They brought me in and pampered me with gifts and stuff. And while, you know, that might seem like I need to reciprocate, I don't. I have no obligation, and simply now I'm just so much more informed about it. Obviously, I so much insider information, and you don't. So that's the really hard part. How do I help you guys have a positive outlook when you don't have that context of everything, the context of behind the scenes and what's happening in the future? How do you have the same positive outlook and have create the same positive experience for yourself without that? And I guess I can just explain a few things. The way the game is now is just a very small part of what it's going to become. Remember that a lot of things are changing. The card system is being completely reworked, like to the point where it's not going to be recognizable. They actually didn't tell me very much. Pretty much. So it's just going to be completely different. So, they want a much more diverse options, and that are relevant in the card system, so that there are multiple ways of dealing with things that is relevant to your character as well. So there'll just be lots of options, and there'll be something for everything, and there'll be you can do lots. I think that's kind of what they're going for, and that makes sense. That's what you want in a card system. So there is that. That's going to change a ton. That's going to change an absolute ton. Yes, of course, balance changes are going to always happen. And they're coming in the future. They've hinted at some reworks and stuff like that, so it's coming. But there is a big part of it that a lot of people are. It's hard to appreciate. For me. It's hard. It was hard for me to take my experience as being the only experience that happens in the game, where I can't deal with crowd control. I can't deal with, so something has to happen to it. While instead, Grim is a perfect example. There is so much going for him. It's just really hard to play him well. So it's like, there's, do you balance him so that he's like completely overpowered, or in the right hands, can he just kind of completely dominate? So there's an education component, and then there's just like a balance component. So balance stuff's obviously going to happen. The card stuff's obviously going to happen, and there's so many new heroes coming up. Some of them are absolutely insane, and remember that's going to change. That's going to change so much. Once we start getting more and more heroes, there are going to be more and more options to do basically the same thing, just a little bit differently. Somebody like Aurora has completely changed up the meta because she has so much crowd control in her kit. Well, that's what her purpose is. So once there are more options out there to counter her, which there kind of already is, people can be like, okay, so we just won't group up on minions and team fight 5v5, because the Aurora is going to have that's kind of what her kit is. It's anti-team fight. She just dives in, boom, ultimate, and that's a crazy advantage. So what are some options to split push? How about a Muriel Kalari and a really solid threesome go, and try split push mechanic, the split push strategy the entire game, or some other heroes that are coming up. Try some other kind of split pushy, weird kind of strategy, and kind of render that, so that there'll be lots more options with the heroes as well. So it's kind of like the whole point of these 3 points that I'm making is it's like a small picture. It's a small picture of the bigger painting, small glimpse at the bigger painting, and it just takes time. And Sure, it's easy for me to say that because I've seen everything, but for you guys, you know, I understand it's harder, and you know, just try to stay optimistic and positive. In these times, like for me, I'm just trying to learn. I'm tired of being negative and sad and right. I'm tired of it, and I choose not to be that way anymore. I choose not to be that way anymore. Yes, it's easier for me, and I'm in a much better mindset in my psyche. I feel like a purposeful person now, and it's, you know, it makes it easier for me to be like, I choose not to be salty anymore, and instead of, you know, complaining, I'm going to try to understand things as much as possible and give, you know, critical, positive opinions and perspectives to the community, and have discussions with that, so that, you know, we can have informed discussions. That's really the big one. Informed discussions that, you know, really break down things into key issues, and that, you know, that aren't the, you know, the top layer of the issue. It's a deep the fundamental issue, like legacy. The deep fundamental issue was the fact that travel mode, it provided a whole other mechanic, and that mechanic was broken. That mechanic, and it wasn't the speed that the mechanic was going, because any speed, it doesn't matter. It was that mechanic. That mechanic gave melee heroes an infinite advantage. There was no the deep mechanic of having a ranged hero and a melee hero broke down once you added travel mode, because there was no, you just travel mode, and, you know, there was a deep fundamental core issue that its existence was the issue, and, you know, people were stuck on the, you know, on the number, on the how long the delay, if there was a penalty to it. That's topographical. That's, you know, that's a band-aid. Those are the band-aid issues. The real issue is that internal hemorrhage. So anyways, those are kind of the discussions we need, and for me, that's what I'm choosing to do. And yes, I probably have an easier time, but I wanted to share that with you guys, share my feelings, kind of let you guys know where I'm coming from. I feel much better now. You know, I'm happier. I feel like I have purpose, and able to be a more positive role model for you guys. So hopefully that's everything. Let's see. Well, I guess some comments about my community mindset video. I don't mean that video is just, it doesn't mean to be complacent, just accept things as they are. Rather, it's just try to improve. It's being positive about any criticism that we do have about our experiences. Let's share our experience with this. Like, when I'm having a really hard time adapting to Aurora. Is there any fundamental issues that we see? What is the real root cause of this? That's the best way I can think of right in the moment of going about discussing Aurora's state of overpoweredness and the overpowered of CC. That's a correct way of going about it. Or, you know, what are some ways that you guys, the community, or that we have come up with dealing with Rampage's rock, with Decker stuns? What are some ways? That's a way of going about it, and, you know, then we can leave it up to the developers to be like, look at all this discussion going about how people are having issues with people are calling for help in regards to dealing with these certain things. let's take a look at that internally, and with all of our resources and knowledge and professionalism and skill, they can look at it internally and really investigate the issues. That's that. Like, and just have a positive mindset to enjoy what exists. And I think that's a big issue. That's a big issue, and I had, well, hopefully no more, an issue with that as well. So that's not all about it. I don't want this video to be too long. If you're still with me, thank you. So yeah, and then the ELO thing, of course. Standards are all around us. When ranked mode comes out, it will be standards. It's just, you're not all professional teachers that understand how stuff like this works, and there's training and philosophies about it and stuff like that. So there's two different scenarios. There's learning and getting better, developing, and then there's performing. Both are very different. In the learning environment, everything is different. And then you slowly transition to the performance part of it, where you train to get these things down pat, and then you learn to perform. And those are very different things. And a performance, in a performance, there's very different things going on than when you're learning. So when ranked mode comes out, you're performing. You're performing, and very different things happen in that scenario. You should still be learning, but it's different. It's different. In that video, I was talking about like the learning phase. If you're really trying to learn, then that's kind of what's going on. And yes, you still use ELO and ranks and these standards to compare yourself, and that's just how competition has to be, right? It's just how it has to be. But if you want to learn, there's a mindset, there's a way of doing things that is shown to be best. And performance, very, very different. So, example, the military, anything, you never outperform the level of your skill. You never outperform the level of your training. You always fall back to the highest level of your training. You can never outperform that. So the whole point of training so hard, getting these processes and these muscle reflexes and these way of adapting to a scenario in the military is you get it so you don't think, even in the most stressful situations, that you fall back on your training, which is top notch. You just perform and you don't even have to think about it, and boom, stress doesn't affect it at all, just because you've trained it so well. That's in one scenario, and then in the performance scenario, you slowly bridge the gap between the learning and the performing. And anyways, blah blah blah. That's that. So I will be coming out with a video about the CC meta. Hopefully I make that video nice and good, so that I don't have to explain things afterwards and blah blah blah. So guys, thank you for watching this. Hopefully you guys appreciate this. I'm not on Epic Games payroll. I wish. That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. It was the first place. It's the only place I've felt like I belonged that much. I haven't felt like I belonged anywhere that much. But when I was there, it's such an amazing place with such an amazing people. I wish I was on their payroll. I would love to work for Epic Games. I don't. That's just it. So I have to be I was an insider for a day, and I am no longer. So I'm just going to try to be an optimistic, positive person now that is, still critiques this game, but in a better way that I know is better for development and learning and being positive and that kind of stuff. So hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about all of this. So thank you guys very much. stay optimistic and positive.